Hey y'all, hi. It's that time again. That time when Lisa Eldridge comes for all of our wigs and all of our money, and in her elegant, talented, intellectual, and yet unpretentious way, creates makeup that feels like it was literally plucked from the dreams of our souls, and we feel powerless to resist the urge to buy it all. So as I sit here filming, it's the day after Lisa Eldridge announced this eyeshadow launch, and it's the day before the launch itself. So tomorrow morning, I am probably going to buy at least one of the palettes to create a video. I'm already getting DMs upon DMs about it. A lot of you want to see me review these eyeshadows, and it's a good idea. However, when I was watching the launch video, I was gripped by the desire to buy way more eyeshadow than I would need to buy to review it. I was gripped by the desire to buy a whole bunch of it for myself and not just for the channel. I mean, I felt myself wanting this eyeshadow, and wanting a lot of it for its own sake and for my own sake, and in a way that's separate from the fact that I review makeup online. And as I continued to watch, I realized that there was something kind of lovely going on actually, which was that the feeling that I was getting from watching Lisa talk about her beautiful eyeshadows and apply the palettes one after another was the feeling of excitement about eyeshadow. Excitement about how it can be applied subtly and then how it can be layered. Excitement about different formulas. I was starting to feel excited about colors that I haven't felt excited about in a while. And I identified that feeling of wanting to put on eyeshadow as actually being something that's separate from my curiosity about the exact formulas that Lisa Eldridge herself has designed. And then I thought, why not film myself following through on that excitement? It's kind of like a classic duping the vibes moment. Even though I might end up reviewing some of this Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow in a couple of weeks, I don't have to wait that long to use the colors that she's made me excited about using. And I don't have to wait that long to play with makeup in the way that her special way of talking about makeup and thinking about it has inspired me to want to do, because I have plenty of makeup already. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm not necessarily replicating exactly any of the palettes that she's designed or the eye looks that she put on in her release video. I'm just going to kind of skip around the release video and instinctively pursue the colors and the experiences and the feeling of makeup that I felt like I wanted to hold on to when I was watching the video yesterday. If this is your first time to my channel, then welcome. I'm glad that you're here. My name is Hannah. As you can tell, I really love makeup in spite of myself. And you know, because of that excitement, sometimes I get whipped up into a frenzy when new makeup releases to the market. And even though I sometimes do buy things and I do like to review new things, I always like to take that excitement and reroute it towards the makeup that I already own, because there's often a lot of satisfaction to be found there. And that's what I'm doing today. So if you like that, and I hope you'll subscribe. And now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. As you may have been able to guess by my accessories and or by the fact that you may know me and know what I like, one of the things that really stood out from Lisa Eldridge's launch video about this eyeshadow was this green, this blackened gold green chartreuse in one of the palettes that probably isn't the one that I'm going to pick. It's the shade Madrigal in the palette that she's calling Sorcery. And the reason that I probably won't pick this palette for review is that there are a lot of colors in it, actually a majority of colors that I know aren't my default. Swan Song, the blue, the fact that the deepest matte in it, the sort of sculpting color, is a teal, isn't ideal for me. Even the emerald green isn't the direction I often go in, and the pale silvery gray green, I'm always drawn to that color in theory, and then I really don't like how it looks on me. So that just leaves Madrigal, which is this, again, blackened antique green gold, amazing. It's basically like I got turned into an eyeshadow, and Mercurial, which is the duochrome in the collection, and it looks gorgeous in the swatch. She's calling it a green to heather duochrome, and it looks like it's semi-sheer, and there's this sort of like pale green to lilac flash going on. So when I saw her playing with those, I immediately was like, I need to find the closest thing in my collection and put that on my eyes. So that's where I'm gonna start, and then I might kind of skip around to some of the other palettes and some of the other colors and see if I can incorporate anything else that inspired me. Look at this old beaut. The Flower Beauty Jungle Lights palette. Now, of course, this isn't the same, right? It's not exactly the same. This is more of a forest green. It doesn't really have that yellowy chartreuse quality, that sort of gritty antique gold quality. But duping the vibes isn't about finding exact dupes, because a healthy makeup collection isn't necessarily one that has every single minutely different version of everything that you like to use possible. Because there's an infinite array, you know, and different colors look different in different lighting conditions and on different skin tones, and when you're wearing different things and when they're applied differently. So no color is just like static and pure and always the same. These are sort of morphing, changing tools that are meant to be used. And it's very much about the vibe, the feeling, the experience of owning it, the experience of using and wearing it, and not about something being exact. You know what I mean? Exactly the one or exactly like the other one. So this looks murkier. This looks greener than Madrigal, but it's giving me that like blackened green that I want to play with. I want to swipe. I want to put on my eyes. I want to build a look on top of, because I'm feeling all these feelings having watched Lisa Eldridge do that with her eyeshadows. So I'm going to start with this and see where it goes. This is a great eyeshadow. Also, didn't you love how Lisa in her tutorial for sorcery, she totally did what I always do. She like put it on her lid with her finger and then blended the edges. And I was like, I've been doing it right the whole time. Most people are like, you do it the opposite of how it's supposed to be. And I'll never brook that again now that we've seen Lisa do it. So this is blending out to like a blackened forest green that actually looks a little more like Grotto from the Sorcery palette than it looks like Madrigal. But I'm okay with it not looking just like the color that I was inspired by, because now I'm inspired by this, right? And I'm excited to see where I can go with this and what I can do with this. I haven't used green eyeshadow in a long time, but I want to do it today because of the kind of spangly, greeny party look that I saw Lisa Eldridge apply. To make it a little more chartreuse, I'm going to apply Cleona Weathered to the center of the lid and blend that out. And I'm also going to put a little bit of Weathered on my lower lash line. This is a multi-chrome, so it has a little bit of other stuff in it too, you know what I mean? Like a little bit of fire, but that glossy chartreuse is really its backbone. I feel like this is really starting to give me Sorcery palette vibes. So the other eyeshadow that I saw in the release video for the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow palettes that was swatched in this section, because it's in this palette, is Mercurial, a prismatic green to heather duochrome. I feel like either Cleona Carving or Cleona Chandelier could work. Chandelier's on top there. Carving underneath seems to have more lavender in it. They have a lot in common, but I think Carving, which is actually the one on top here, is the one that I want. What do I want to do with it? I think I want to go for it. The full grungy eye fantasy, not trying to do what Lisa did, but again, to like reach for the thing that I was longing to do when I watched her, which is to get my hands into colors like that and textures like that. I'm going to put this all over both of my lids. Maybe I'll try to leave the center. So I tapped it from here kind of up and around, trying to leave the center because I don't want to obscure too much of that chartreuse. All right, I'm going to blend with a fluffy brush. Okay, so this is a pretty intense base. I'm kind of considering this like the base for the look. In order for this to hold its own, I think I'm going to need some eyeliner in my lower lash line, a little more smoked out lower lash line, something really reflective and sheer on the brow bone, and dark eyeshadow in the outer corner to make the sculpting darker, right? So that my eye looks more sculpted, even though so much of it is so dark already. So to get those tools, I need to reach into other parts of Lisa's video, other eyeshadows that she's released, because I wouldn't want to put Troubadour, that dark matte teal, into this look. It would make it so greeny blue, and I want to pull it back more towards neutral. There is a black in this collection, Lamp Black. It's in the palette called Vega. I have my favorite black right here, this Kaleidos black eyeshadow, so I'm going to use it. And on this little brush, little fluffy brush, I'm going to tap it in the outer corner and blend. It was like watching Lisa Eldridge do this part, like putting sculpting shadows in the outer corner, bringing things from from a wash all over to the lid to something more sculpted and intense just really made me want to play with my eyeshadows. And it made me appreciate the process, the application process in a way that I haven't in a while. So I'm painting it a little bit along the lower lash line, but because I have this big fluffy brush, it is creating kind of a thick line there, covering a big surface area, and then I'm buffing that out. I'm gonna use a little bit of that same black on my lower lash line, just a little bit. And actually, I'm gonna use this in my lash line too, instead of eyeliner, in my waterline, I mean. It saves me having to dig out an eyeliner, and it also is a very natural, soft extension of the eye look into the waterline. So it's getting very Biba Girl, very oil slicky, or a bit oil slicky, right? Not super oil slicky because I haven't brought that duochrome all the way down. I may yet do that. But first, I'm going to find something that will work the way that Lisa Eldridge's top coat in Ritual works, or it seems like it works. So she described this as a completely clear eyeshadow, except for the sparkle, which you know, that's something that I really love. And this one is a soft, light gold with warm, sparkling pearls. So I think it's gonna be this eyeshadow in the top right-hand corner of the Pat McGrath Moonlit Seduction palette, which is a clear eyeshadow with sparkles, soft, light gold with warm, sparkling pearls. It's exactly the thing. Now, because this is clear, except it has the shine, I can put it anywhere and it won't disrupt what's underneath it. It'll just soften it by reflecting light off of it. But I could put it all over this eye look, and all it would do would be to kind of make it less intense, you know, and more shiny, which is what I want. So I'm pretty much going to do that. But I think I'm going to use a brush, a big fluffy brush to start, and I'm going to start by putting it on my brow bone. And I'm going to build it up there and then bring it down and sort of disperse it over the rest of the look. The fluffy brush is dispersing it the most softly. The most dense application would be packing it on with my finger. A denser brush would be in between. And this way I'm getting the lightest possible application to start, and then I can build from there. Especially bringing some light to like the inner portion of the eye, I think is helping it. So I didn't tap off the brush when I went in right here in the inner portion of the eye, and that's giving me a thicker application. I'm sweeping it all the way across, and I'm even kind of sweeping it over the black because, again, we're still gonna get that depth, so it's gonna make it look wet. I'm really into this right now. I really like this. I actually wasn't expecting to go this hard. It's just, this is what happens when I'm feeling really keyed up about the tactile quality of makeup, because I feel like with this look, those tactile qualities read from the eyes. So people could be looking at me, talking to me, and they're feeling those feelings too. You know what I mean? They're feeling those feelings of creaminess, shininess, greasiness, sootiness, smudginess, and the like rainbow spill, reflective oil spill kind of look where there's green shining through and there's chartreuse shining through and then blue and lavender flashing depending on how the light's hitting it. So I feel kind of good with this. I actually want to stop here and put on mascara. So there's not much else on my face, and I think that that's working well. With this, I'm actually wearing Lisa Eldridge Velvet Fawn, which I put on before I started this video. Again, kind of to remind myself that I already have some beautiful Lisa Eldridge makeup. So that's what's on my lips, and I just have a light wash of the Make Beauty bronzer on my cheeks. And I think it's enough. I feel like there's enough going on the rest of my face to kind of ground it, to make it hold its own against the wild eye look without competing with it. So this is it. This is the finished look. And here's how I'm feeling about this. I feel like what I did was that I used the palette that I would use if one could build one's own palette from scratch on Lisa's website. So the way she's done it is that she's created 5 palettes, and to buy a compact, an eyeshadow compact from her, you have to buy one of the palettes. You can't buy an empty compact and just customize it from zero. I will be curious to see if that ever becomes an option on the website. It just seems like a natural conclusion, like a natural progression of this idea. But for the launch, you have to choose one of her pre-curated palettes. However, as I explained to you in the beginning, I was very inspired by individual colors from some of these palettes and not as inspired by other ones. Cinnabar is another example. Cinnabar is the one that has Ritual in it, that top coat. About half of the shadows in the Cinnabar palette are my perfect neutrals and grounding shadows and useful finishing shadows, my most used shadows, and the other half are just just too copper for me. You know, I don't tend to love copper eyeshadows. So in order to get the 3 that I want, I have to buy 3 that I don't want. By duping the vibes, by using what I already have, that kind of stands in for what she's inspired me to want to use, I was able to pick and choose exactly what I wanted. So I was able to use my grungy black and chartreusey greens to get the base of this look. I was able to use my duochrome sheer heather green flipping shadow to get that oil spill color. I was able to use my favorite black eyeshadow, which comes from yet another eyeshadow palette in this collection, and I was able to use one of my many sheer wet look gold reflective top coats to make the whole look blend together and make it look wet. If I were creating a palette, right, it would have Madrigal, Ritual, Lamp Black, Mercurial. It would be pulling from every single one of these 5 palettes to create a customized Franken palette. And it was really fun to basically do the eye look that I would do if I had that palette. I can't imagine that it would end up looking much different than this. However, I am very curious still about the formula, the experience of applying the shadows, the formulas she created, her claims that you don't have to blend very much, the distinction she makes between the matte shadow that has a little bit of pearl in it and the creamy super matte shadow that handles eye texture really well. Of course, I'm curious about Lisa Eldridge's eyeshadows for their own sake. But this was a really good reminder that I don't have to buy new eyeshadow to play with eyeshadow, and that sometimes that excitable feeling that I get when I see new makeup releasing is made up in large part of my excitement about applying eyeshadow. So I feel like by satisfying that urge now, I've kind of cleared my mind to make good decisions tomorrow when I'm deciding what to get from the launch to review. I feel a little bit less like I need to get all 5 palettes and go way over budget and also get a bunch of lipsticks and just do the most and go all in. I feel a little bit less like that, a little bit more like I can weigh my options, be okay leaving some things on the table, and just do what I need to do to make a good video for you in a couple of weeks after this launch ships and I get it in the mail. I very much appreciate you for being here and watching this video, and I hope that you are remembering to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.